What is up, guys? So I just finished watching an Italian film based on Homer's The Odyssey that you've never heard of or you've never seen before. Great muses will rise and sing praises of the gods. Nostos il Ritorno, or Nostos the Return, is a 1989 Italian movie based on Homer's The Odyssey. And this is the kind of film that you will either love and appreciate or really find boring and hate. There is no real in between. But just a note before I go on with my thoughts on the film, when this film was released, it was a very limited theatrical run in Italy, and it was widely praised as a beautiful work of art. So this is a film directed by Franco Piovoli, and the word Nostos means a story of a homecoming. It's a Greek word referring to a homecoming story for a hero, and in particular, when they come home across the seas. And so the thing to note about this film is that there is almost no dialogue in it. And the dialogue that you hear in the film spoken by the characters is an imaginary, made-up language. So what that is good news for me saying is that even if it's an Italian film, and it is, you're able to watch it because what they're saying you don't need a translation for anyway. And this was by choice. So Franco, that directed this film, said that he wanted this film to be a visual art, that he wanted the focus to be on what's happening in the scenery that you see in the film rather than what people are saying. So you focus more on what's happening than what people are actually saying. But with that said, there are certain words thrown in that the characters say that your ears will pick up on and recognize, like the character that is assumed to be, and it is Odysseus, because it's based on Homer's The Odyssey, even though they never call him Ulysses, they never call him Odysseus, because there's not really spoken word in this film, like I said. But your ears do pick up words you may recognize, like he'll say mater or pater, I mean mother and father, and they'll throw out a line of oikos, which in Greek means home. But the majority of the other language that is spoken in the film intentionally is imaginary and made up for the reason I said. Also, like I said earlier, that when this film was released, it was praised as a work of art, which is a focus on nature. And I read that before I was watching the film, and it said it puts a lot of focus on nature. And this guy, from what I can tell, the director, the first thing he did before he directed this film was a nature documentary or something related to nature, if I remember right. But the point of it is to say that they said that the commentary was about how it brings a focus on nature. And definitely that is where the focus is, because the entire story is told through one man leaving Troy. Again, it's not said, but you can see through the flashbacks as he's trying to sail home with a skeleton crew of people on a small ship. It's not 600 men, a fleet of people returning home, but he is on a boat with a skeleton crew. And with it based on nature, the film, and being the focus of the film, it is a beautiful film. I think that if they had this released in proper high def, 4K, whatever the latest high def is, I think it would be a beautiful film, because it is literally shot of a man leaving with his crew. They crash on a shore, or they dock on a shore, and with no dialogue, really, you have to really use your imagination and know the story of the Odyssey to have an idea of what's going on. If not, you're just going to see just a man on a boat trying to go somewhere that you don't know where he's going. But if you have an idea or you've read the Odyssey, you kind of get an idea of what the story is trying to tell. Because at first he crashes on an island and he loses his crew. And so he walks and walks, and then he finds a group of people that are just laying around. And is this the Lotus Eaters? You don't know. Like I said, there's no words to it. You got to use your own interpretations of what you're seeing on the screen. And then he leaves that island, and then he eventually runs into a storm, his crew does, and they all get destroyed and killed in the storm except him, and he washes up on another island where he meets another lady. Again, there is dialogue, there's a little bit of dialogue between Odysseus and this character, but again, you don't know what they're saying, but you can assume this is Calypso. You can assume it's Calypso because when he's finished talking with her and sleeping with her, he is given a new raft and he's off to sail again. And it shows and focuses when he leaves Calypso's island of how his raft just falls apart, his makeshift raft. And now he's stuck in the ocean and he's like trying to gather all of the boards of his raft together, all his bamboo sticks, whatever he used. And you feel the panic because they really put a focus of him stuck in a huge ocean, and you feel like, man, if that was me, I'd be dead. But this character Odysseus, he swims during the day, lays on his back, swims during the day, and lays on his back at night to rest. And then finally he makes it home at the end. And we know he's home because when he gets home, he has a smile on his face. And the word at the end that you barely hear when he gets into his castle is that he says, Penelope, is what he says. So this is Odysseus' story. And there were no suitors, there are no gods, there are no monsters. I read one review that said that, wow, this is the most boring movie I have ever seen because nothing happens. And if you don't know the Odyssey, if you don't know the story, if you're not into art, looking at pretty pictures and a man walking and using the director, using the camera to tell a story or paint a picture, literally, he's using the camera. It's one of those films that he is using this film to be a living canvas, as they say, that is art. Kind of like how they describe the horror film Suspiria. They say that film, people that watch it, that doesn't make sense to a lot of people, but it's a living canvas, quote unquote. It's that kind of foreign Italian film where they're using it as art to be a beautiful picture. But if you don't appreciate stuff like that, you will find this to be a movie that is boring and nothing happening. You can literally walk out of the room, come back inside the room, and you haven't missed anything. Because a lot of it is him walking, looking around at nature, a lot of nature shots. And when he runs into people, if you don't know the Odyssey, you don't know what is going on. You really don't. So if you can appreciate it for art and for beauty and for being pretty, then it is nice to look at. But I would not recommend this film to someone who wants more movies of the Odyssey. Like if you loved my favorite, the 1997 film, The Odyssey, and starring Armando Assante, I would not recommend this. I would recommend another Odyssey film would be The Return with Ray Fiennes that came out in 2024. Not this movie. So there you go, guys. I happened to accidentally find out about this film on Wikipedia. I was just happened to type up films based on Greek mythology, and then it had on Wikipedia sections of films based on certain things, and then it said films based on the Odyssey. And I was like, ooh. And I saw that one was made in 1989. So that really piqued my interest because it's a more modern film, and I had never heard of this film before. And I looked it up, and it is on YouTube. So if you want to see a little bit of it, definitely check it out and see it on YouTube. There's multiple uploads of the film, but I wouldn't recommend this really to anyone to get them into the Odyssey for sure, because if 100%, if you don't know the Odyssey, you would have no clue what's happening in the film at all. And even me, that I know the story, it's still up to interpretation. And most people agree with the way I interpreted it, because there are clips on YouTube of certain scenes, and the one I call Calypso, if you find that clip, they call it Calypso as well, even though her name is never said in the film. It's just that that's what it's supposed to be. So check it out if you want to check out something having in the background, because like I said, you can definitely have it on the background, take a bathroom break, come back, and you don't miss anything. But it is very beautiful and a pretty thing to watch, but nothing, I would say, that would really get people hooked. Anyway, guys, I'll talk to you later. Bye.